Yeah.
So, yeah, with these products, the way we approach them is kind of similar to all the Addy Zeros. So with Crazy Light, it's start from zero, and then with these products, we start from rows and build up from there. So with this shoe, we know that it's not just a one-off; it's part of a legacy that we're going to see when we look back over the years of his career. And so we're just, how exactly does this shoe play into this moment in time within the spectrum of his shoes? So with this one, you've seen we've had a cadence with the .5s, is that we've gotten just even more kind of focused and honed in on some of the performance features to really lift it, and then also bring in a new texture or a new shine, new lifestyle component to the shoe. So with the 2, you saw it was straight from the runway, wide 3, stretch band, gave it a completely new kind of a silhouette from the shoes we had in the past. So it was like the luxury spike for the court. Now this is the light luxury spike for the courts. We increased the stability by raising the collar up even higher. We went back to the Geo Fit, which was on the 1, which was really liked. And then we were able to use some of the same construction from the Crazy Light. That's the way we were able to really trim away a lot of the ounces, or I guess grams would be appropriate here. Yeah. Because it's just such an efficient way to build a shoe that we had to infuse it into this one. One of the coolest parts is just the idea that the Rose 2 was all flights canceled, cleared for takeoff, and how this one is the takeoff and then up into the air. So if we really think of it literally, we thought he'd be sitting in first class looking down over the city as he's going to another game or on the road, and so that's where we got this satellite graphic pattern, and we were able to work in cool details. We've talked to some people from Chicago. They told us they could show us some areas we shouldn't go in Chicago. Pretty funny. But all in all, always keeping Derek at the forefront, knowing that he, like he tells us, about growing up and not being able to, have 5 or 6 shoes. He needs to be able to have one shoe that can cover the court to the street. Yeah. So the clean toe keeps it much more street. Also, just the textures and materials that were picked. You don't always find on basketball shoes. They've been getting more and more technical, which means they're getting a little less rich and a little more engineered. And we wanted to make sure we had a perfect balance of both. You see the stripes on the back, so still that idea of the fastest guy. Last thing you see is the back of him. And you start to see this is the first use of the new Rose word mark, where clearly it's his name is highlighted, but we've helped to bring that collaboration of the partnership of him and us and adidas together with the 3 stripes as the beyond that. You got the squeaky bottom. I mean, we really try not to play around too much with outsoles, especially when we're really cranking up the performance. We make sure that we're using quite a bit of herringbone. And then finally, this is a smart sprint frame, so it's my coach compatible. All the benefits that how we're leading in that area, above and beyond. This shoe will be able to work with the my coach system, so that you can track your stats and be able to help use that to push your game to faster limits.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. I mean, why go higher from like the 2.0? What was the reason behind going back to a higher top shoe, like a high top shoe?
I think it was more about we just always like having a unique solution for the collar because it calls attention to how he uses a speed wrap.
Yeah.
So everybody doesn't use a speed wrap, so we know that, and we have to kind of just determine based on each shoe and how we construct each shoe what would be the best use of this area. And we just thought, kind of looking at the shoe and the design overall, that proportionally just how high the counter came, once you just do the math, it ended up being that this was the height that the shoes are going to be. But we know that from him wearing it, he feels so secure in
With
the
it.
shoe. I mean, I've seen the text from him straight through some of our sports marketing guys. They super excited about happy with the shoe. I mean, he was averaging like 32 points a game or something like that in the shoe. I mean, he's really cranked it up. So I think it just kind of happened through the process, but fortunately, he's a big fan.
Okay. I noticed that the sprint web is bigger.
Yeah.
What is the logic behind it, or I mean, as opposed to like the Crazy Light that had smaller like vents?
Yep. So I mean, the idea is like we try to build very intuitive designs. So if you look at the shoe and it's light, then it should look light. So we feel like the size of the shapes were important for us to try and make it a little bit larger so that you get a little bit more of that see-through benefit. But then also we just did some studies and saw that sometimes kind of random, I say random, but kind of random shapes and lines and how you distribute the pressure can make it be more of a system that holds down the shoe. So instead of having straight lines, like instead of if you do straight lines, that's one way. That's how we did it on this Crazy Light. Directly sending the forces down. But think about like the bird's nest, from the Beijing, like how it's not straight, but there's so many of them, so that when you do a pull, multiple angles start to help, and the multiples are as strong as the one straight. So and then also you're pulling in a straight line, but the movements that happen within the shoe aren't straight. They're all over the place, and so you almost we did several rounds to get just the right pattern, and we tested just as strictly as the last one, and this one ended up having the right characteristics of inversion eversion ratios in order to be the right design.